Grab your binoculars, Wargamers, because today we are coming to you live from the zoo, and by the zoo I mean my house. I got so many animals running around here you can't even believe it. You'll hear the dogs, you'll hear the chickens, you'll hear the birds, lots of birds. You can't even believe how many birds, but we're going to power through this. It's been about 2 weeks since I've actually recorded a video because I've been busy on the home front. You guys know when it comes to wargaming, the best thing you can do for your wargaming is take care of the home front first. Keep the family happy, keep the home folks happy, and it just makes everything easier on the front lines. One of the reasons that I haven't recorded in a while is because I wanted to review Rogue Planet, and brother, it just ain't happening. I have tried to film this 4 times, and it's just not happening. The universe isn't interested. I got chased out of a parking lot because I can't even sit alone in my car in a parking lot because the virus might get me. What are you going to do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to refocus, and we're going to find something interesting to do. Now I've showed you these before. I'm going to show you again because they're done. You're familiar with this box. This is my Riot box. I wanted to show you that I finished up the Gaslands expansion. See this little box right here? That's all I need. Well, that and these. And let me move this out of the way. I'll show you something awesome. Okay, so as you know, if you've been paying any attention to YouTube Wargaming over the last couple of years, Gaslands has hit the place by storm. It was originally released in 2016, and it already has a second edition, or, you know, Gaslands Reloaded is a summary of all of the optional rules or add-on rules. Now, this wouldn't be the joy of Wargaming. We wouldn't be Wargamers if we weren't comfortable going off in a strange and new direction. So, the strange and new direction I went off in is to game Gaslands in 6mm scale. Even my camera doesn't like it. There we go. Look at those tiny little boys. In fact, let me break out some of my rioters to give you an idea of the scale of these figures. See that? How about that? Perfectly in keeping with the scale. Now, you may be wondering, hey, but one of the charms of Gaslands is that it's perfectly scaled to Matchbox cars, which are roughly, if memory serves, 1/100th. And 6mm is about 1/300th. How are you going to make that work? And the answer is very simple. Litco, in addition to selling these standard size templates, sells these wonderful N-scale templates. Now, the N-scale templates are, if I understand correctly, N-scale is about 1/12, or 12mm in scale. My cars are 6mm. Technically, I guess it's too large. You know, it's twice as big as it should be. But look how close that is. When we do our long measurement, you can barely see it against the asphalt there. But we are going to be able to swing this so that our Gaslands boys, whatever they do when they're racing, or if they're doing battles inside the Riotville, or Pleasantville, as Car Wars named it, we're going to have plenty of space, plenty of obstacles, and we can complete... I've already got a ready-made system of terrain. How cool is that? When you're gaming on a limited budget and with a limited space, you want to make sure that everything you do is doing at least double duty, if not triple. And look how narrow that's going to be. That's going to be just rough to kind of get through, but it gives me all kinds of options. And of course, we can declare that the curbs are a hazard. So if you take this corner a little too sharp, then you incur another hazard, or this may incur a hazard in addition. So driving over the curb and over the grassy area would incur 2. We've got hard stuff. I mean, I don't have the rules yet. They're supposed to be coming later this week. So once I get those and give them a read through and get comfortable with them, you can expect to see the city of Townsville under attack by all kinds of ne'er-do-wells. Let me show you something else. As a quick aside, at the local wall market, I was able to find this Flexa ruler for like $1. And I know this isn't much, but I'm a war gamer. I get excited by these things. Standard 12-inch ruler. It's got your centimeters on it. But look at this. Oh, so if you have a rule set where your figures can do some kind of snaky action, you've got a ready-made, oh, they can move 6 inches and they can move in an S shape. It's already flexible. Easy to lose, easy to use. What's not to like? Moving on. I'm telling you, I've been through a lot of stuff. I got something fantastic to show you. It's right over here. This fits in my, call it, fantasy terrain box, and it's only half full. A little bit of room for the livestock. Look at this stuff. I have been on a bit of a historical kick, and you guys who are historical wargamers know there's a feedback loop that happens. You get a little bit interested in an era, and you start to read about it. And then you read about it, and you get a little more interested in it, and coming along later, you'll find out that I'm getting into a whole new era of wargaming, something I never thought I would do, but I'm actually getting into Napoleonics. Stick a pin in that. We'll come back to it. For right now, and by way of introduction, I was introduced to the French counter-revolution by some friends online, and I've started reading about that because it's a subject that American schools gloss right over. Now, for those of you that are across the pond, either to the left or the right, as you look on the map, American schools are a bit schizophrenic when it comes to the French because we owe a great debt of gratitude to the French crown. Heck, we got a whole city named after King Louis, for crying out loud. And yet, because the French Revolution voiced the same kind of rhetoric as the American Revolution, we tend to root against the king's men when it comes time to supporting our, quote, fellow revolutionaries. I learned about the war in the Vendée, and so I've been reading No Surrender, A Tale of the War in La Vendée by G.A. Henry, which is an interesting history. Well, it's not a history, it's actually a, what do you call that? Historic fiction about a British feller that marries a French lass and gets sucked up into the counter-revolution. Fantastic stuff. A ground-level look at what happens when you've got a rebellion or a counter-revolution and how a lot of people had an attitude of, hey, you know, meet the new boss, same as the old. Wait, the new boss is stealing all of the stuff that I donated to the church and is not letting me attend Mass and is arresting my priest. Oh my God, where's my gun? So, to that end, I realized, hey, with all the fantasy terrain I've got, it wouldn't take a whole lot. All right, now really it's, you know, it's all, you know, timber and what do you call it? You know, whitewash and timbers. So really, probably the village is a little more Germanic and a little less, you know, southwest of France. Whatever. It'll be fine because now I have all kinds of fantastic. We've got some blue jackets here who are painted, again, 15 millimeters, because that's my style. So there are, well, depending on your point of view, here are some bad guys. These are Eureka figures, 15 millimeter. They got the bicorn. These will be they will serve as both the local militia who are trying to put down the uprising in the Vendée, and again, just a skirmish. I got 12 of these guys. They're all armed basically the same, except the leader here has got a saber. Look at that guy. He's ready. He's ready to slaughter some peasants in the name of fraternity, liberty, and egalite. Turns out, liberté doesn't involve the freedom of worship, and fraternity involves a heck of a lot more shooting at your brother than they advertised in the pamphlets. Then on the other side, I've got, so those are Eureka. My Vendéans are all going to be irregular miniatures. And I've got 14 of these guys. And if you can see the little patch there? That is how the peasants identified themselves as members of the king's loyalists. And they weren't, you know, well, of course, they're all individuals. A lot of them weren't so much loyalists of the king as they were, the king was a darn sight better than those bloodthirsty maniacs back in Paris. You know, the guys in the rural areas, you know, in a lot of cases, country folks kind of look at the revolutions in the city and all of the violence and the burning and the angry mobs, they kind of look on them with disdain. Boy, aren't you glad you don't live in a country like that? So anyway, again, there's some Vendée. Some of these guys have firearms, but for the most part, they have farming implements, and they outnumber those. Now, I hear you asking, no, that's all well and good, John. Those are some good-looking figures. You're a really amazing painter. Well, hey, thanks for that. But you want to know, what rules are you going to use? And timing is just perfect on this. It's almost like Providence, because last week was the birthday of Alexander Dumas. I'm kidding. Of course I know that it's pronounced Dumas. Alexander Dumas, for those of you that don't know, is the genius behind such works of fiction as The Count of Monte Cristo and The Three Musketeers. What's that got to do with wargaming? This, my friend, Ospreys En Garde. Let's see if we can get this to focus a little better. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Swashbuckling skirmish war games rules, not to be confused with Avalon Hill's En Garde, which is a rule set that's very different because I don't have any experience with it, and I do have experience with this. En Garde is written for swashbuckling, it's for skirmishes, and again, I've only got a dozen or so of the good guys and the bad guys, depending on your perspective. So the next video that you can expect out of me is going to be a review of En Garde. And since the universe, or Providence, doesn't like Rogue Planet, now, I'll say this. I am going to play Rogue Planet. It's not going to be a continuation of the Black Raven. That we're going to get to later. I'm still looking for a suitable miniature to use for the Magic Space Baby. I think I found one. Coming eventually. I'm not even going to say soon. Don't want to make promises I can't keep. But this should be the next video that you see out of me, is a detailed review of En Garde Swashbuckling Skirmish Wargame Rules by Craig Woodfield. Produced by Osprey. Fantastic company. Of course, Gaslands is coming too. I think I'm becoming a bit of an Osprey fanboy. But I'm also becoming a bit of an Irregular Miniatures fanboy, because these are all just kind of little projects that keep me occupied and keep me out of trouble at a time where, you know, trouble seems to be in the offing. Thank you for that. My next big project, I need to grab a computer for. The Trojan Successor Wars. What the heck is this website you're showing me? I hear you asking. Well, I'm here to tell you, this is my next big project. I have ordered a whole batch of 2mm armies from Irregular Miniatures. And once they get here and I get them painted up, I am going to be using this campaign system, written and designed largely by yours truly, thanks to inspiration from Tony Bath, Donald Featherstone, and a lot of great and really smart commenters here on the YouTube channel who, you know, it's down there. You should join, comment. If you have any recommendations, make sure you hit me. Again, the guys at Led Adventure Forum have been fantastic and have been helping me through this process. In the not too distant future, once I get all those armies painted up, we're going to be using this, and I'll put that address in the description so you can go check out the blog. We're going to be using this top-level campaign to generate battles that will be fought on the tabletop. Now, I'm umpiring this, and I have enlisted 5 great guys to serve as the kings of the 5 various powers. It's a semi-historical. I'm actually going the route of, say, Ruritania or the Elbonians or the kind of inspired fantasy of historical fantasy, where rather than get bogged down in something like Sport of Kings, which is a fantastic campaign system for the 7 Years' War, this is largely modeled after that campaign system. I've designed one expressly to be used with the strategic battles that are fought using 2mm figures, and I'll be using 2x2 Napoleonics by, I can't remember his name, Rod something or other. I'll put a link in the description to those rules as well. It's a very, battles are fought on the core level with each individual stand representing, I want to say it's a regiment. So you don't have to get bogged down in things like formation and all of that. It very much captures the kind of sweeping nature of cavalry moving in and out, and it should be a heck of a lot of fun. And one of the things I'll warn you is not all the battles will be symmetric, because the kings are going to be given a list of forces, and they're going to have to compile those forces into armies of their own design, and they may not be historical armies. I'm going to use the army lists that are presented to me. Irregular Miniatures has, you know, they've got 5 different armies. They're going to be composed of different stands, different units, and we're going to have to work within that framework. So I would imagine the French army is going to be heavy on the guards and I think the cavalry. I would imagine that the British army is going to have 2 ranks instead of 3 ranks, and will be a much smaller force. We'll call the British something else. We'll call the French something else. I don't know what it will be, because I'm leaving that up to the players. But the point is, you can follow along with the development of the Trojan Successor Wars. And the idea is there's a continent of Tros and the emperor has died. And so all of the pieces fallen apart, and the 5 major powers are all taking advantage of the situation to declare war on each other. Should be alliances and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see this through. Again, it's, I can say it out loud, trojanwar.blogspot.com. If you want to come by and offer me any advice, any hard-won lessons that you've had, if you've done a campaign of this sort, I would love to have you. I'd love to have you check it out. Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. This is a learning experience for me. This is a lifelong dream to be able to run, not just run a play-by-email campaign for some friends, but also to generate battles more organically. I'm anticipating there may be some instances where a very small force runs into a large army and has to deal with the consequences of that. And we'll see that play out on the tabletop. And I don't know how much of the detailed campaign we'll be doing here in the videos, but if you want to follow along, here's the place to do it. So very excited to give my Vendée a shot, very excited to do some Gaslands, and just enormously excited to do this. And I got to thank you guys, because you're a big part of the inspiration for this. You know, whenever I start feeling unmotivated, I feel like, you know what, there's guys out there that might want to learn from my mistakes. And man, if there's something I'm good at making, it's mistakes, and I want to share those with you guys. So, you know, thank you for keeping me honest. Thank you for giving me a reason to do this. Thank you for sharing in this adventure, because when it comes right down to it, that's all a big part of the joy of wargaming. Anyway, thanks for your time. Remember, I'm praying for you.